Chapter 2. Power Shower. Surat Thani, Thailand. The worst form of transport in Thailand is the privately operated minibus. Not because they're uncomfortable or slow, they're actually dangerously fast and uncomfortable, but because of the total and utter cunts who drive them. Minibus drivers are a special breed. If they weren't driving those things, they'd be politicians. They're arrogant, lying, deceitful, bullshitting, lazy, time-wasting bastards with neither thought nor care for anyone other than themselves. Frankly, I'd rather walk than have anything to do with them. I can't stand them, any of them. But they do have their uses. I'd been to Malaysia for the Formula One race in Sepang. The train ride up from Kuala Lumpur back into Thailand is an okay journey, but high speed it ain't. Once you've crossed the border after 15 hours of sweltering hot clickety-clacking, you have to disembark in the southern Thai city of Hat Yai to arrange onward transport to wherever. It's not a place of any aesthetic beauty, but it does have loads of hotels used by Muslim gentlemen who cross the border from Muslim Malaysia to fuck senseless the hookers of Buddhist Christian Thailand. Apparently, Allah is okay with this, and if not, he hasn't said. Like all train stations in Southeast Asia, Hat Yai has taxi drivers, tuk-tuk drivers and minibus companies gathering outside to try and rip off the unsuspecting. But I knew the score. I knew where to go, how to get to my destination and how much it costs. And that's laughable, because according to the minibus drivers trying to sell you an overpriced ticket, the bus station not too far away, A, didn't exist, B, was very far, and C, no have big bus. All total shite. I was happy to ignore their bullshit until I noticed a rather cute, very sexy, petite little blonde getting harassed by all and sundry. She was the only other Westerner there, and judging from the paleness of her skin, she hadn't been in these parts for too long. As I approached, I could hear the usual routine. She wanted to go to Koh Samui, so therefore needed to go to Surat Thani first, a considerable drive north. That was handy. I was going that way too. The best way to do it was using the normal service bus, a big thing with air conditioning and comfortable seats that left from the main bus station. The same station that didn't exist, the one that no have big bus. Now, you have to put yourself in her position. She's just over 5 foot tall, early 20s, she's ridiculously cute, little tight shorts, a white vest top, mentally lost, desperate, carrying a big backpack, and hasn't a fucking clue where she is or what she's doing. She's also surrounded by 10 minibus drivers telling her total bullshit. What's a man to do? To say she was happy at my intervention doesn't do it justice. I may as well have descended from the sky in a blinding white light. To make the getaway less hostile, I pretended she was my girlfriend, leading her away from the wolves as if I'd known her for years. They weren't happy. Away from the noise, we introduced ourselves. Her name was Rita. She was Canadian, and she was 23. She had the most incredible blue eyes, the softest of voices, and right now, I was her new best friend. I have to say, all joking aside, I was glad she'd met me, as I was quite happy to play the tour guide and get her to Samui. Whatever happened in between didn't really matter. She was just too green and naive to be out on her own. In fact, her naivety was quite a thing. Despite telling her the bus station did actually exist, and big bus they certainly did have, she found it hard to believe they would lie so blatantly. This all seemed too much for her. At one point, she thought it was me dropping all the bullshit. Only after reaching the bus station, fending off another tout who said it no exist, and handing her the ticket for the big bus, did she finally accept it. She shook her head. Lying shitbags! And as we crossed the road to a food stall, she singled out the tout, pointing a finger at him. You can go fuck yourself, asshole. She spat it out with real venom. She learned fast. I saw potential. So there we were, on the big bus to Surat Thani, perhaps a 5-hour ride, another nowhere town where people only stop to arrange onward travel. And there was the rub. We would be arriving too late to take a ferry to Samui or anywhere else. We would have to stay the night in the town and get going early next morning. Whatever happened in between was a matter of fate, fortune, and a few bottles of Heineken. It was a funny thing. Despite the shenanigans in Hat Yai, Rita didn't believe me about staying the night in Surat Thani. She had this down as a feeble attempt to lure her into some £2 a night love nest. Frankly, I didn't give a shit. If she wanted to arse around town looking for transport to the ferry, she was welcome. I would get a room, something to eat, and try to forget where I was. We didn't say much for most of the journey. She stared out the window, convinced I was a pathological bullshitter. I tried to avoid the air conditioning. So fucking cold, a penguin would have worn a parka. Pulling into Surat around 7 p.m, she looked at me. "You're certain we can't get there tonight?" "You're welcome to try." And the doubtful little Canadian did just that, trying at least 4 travel agents before I finally had enough. If she wanted to flog a dead horse, fair enough. I knew the outcome, so I left her to it. She seemed reluctant to part company, but fuck it. You can only help some people so much. I'm not a white knight by nature. I'll help anyone, male or female, but I don't lapdog around pretty girls. Surat Thani was an okay town. She'd survive on her own, plenty of cheap rooms, and very easy to organise yourself. I was sitting at a side street eating place about an hour later when she strolled past looking pissed off. She still had her backpack with her, and I could see the day had finally beaten her. "Rita the cheetah!" I called after her. Seeing me, I thought she would burst into tears. I doubt it was genuine affection, more a type of heat-induced Thai Stockholm syndrome. She took a seat, apologised for not believing me, and ordered a big chang. She looked me in the eye, holding my gaze. "I'm getting blasted." And she did get blasted. For a girl so petite, she banged away 3 big bottles of chang, as if it were alcohol-free. But seriously, it really isn't. I'm very careful with it. Its quality is so inconsistent, you're never sure if you're getting a beer or paintbrush cleaner. She didn't eat a thing, but I did, and even I felt gang-fucked with just a few Heinekens inside me. Around 11 p.m, I pointed to her backpack and said, "You need a room." She shrugged. "What's wrong with yours?" I clicked my cheeks. "Only one big bed, I'm afraid." She leaned across the table. "Well, you'll just have to sleep on the floor then, won't you?" It was a 100-metre walk to the room. Inside, I let her go first for the shower. But actually, I thought to send her out to the 7-Eleven store for some totally unnecessary water, as I felt an almighty shit coming on. God knows what they had put in the spicy basil chicken dish, but it was boiling up my arsehole like a gas welder's torch. I mean, I know travelling with someone requires certain compromises, but a chili-packed sequence of farts echoing around a tiled bathroom, followed by a hefty splat, was hardly the way to ingratiate yourself to strangers. Jesus, even your best mate might want some warning in advance. But the beer, as always, turned minor concerns into meaningless trivia. With a bit of deft arsehole manoeuvring, both taps and the shower running full blast, I managed to complete the dump of destiny without arousing concern. Did it stink? It didn't matter, because it was a £3 a night room in Surat Thani, and they tend to have a very unique smell of their own anyhow. Finishing my shower, I poked my head through the door to assess the state of play. It was a beautiful sight. Rita lay face down on the bed, her head on her forearms, as if lying on a beach naked, apart from her light blue panties, clinging to her perfect Kylie Minogue-like arse. I couldn't see her mouth, but her eyes told me a smile was going on over there. I towelled myself dry, ready to move, but something rumbled and bubbled about an inch from my arsehole. Fuck it. Another quick squat, quiet as the last, but as I'd already had a shower, I decided to use the water hose at the side of the pedestal. You see, Old Thai sewage systems, by and large, use very small diameter pipes. So small, it's not a good idea to throw toilet paper down the pan, as it blocks everything up. For that reason, they prefer the use of a small water gun attached to a hose at the side of most toilets. A quick press of the trigger, and a jet of water whooshes everything clean in seconds. A bidet on a hose, if you like. Actually, a very good idea in that heat. I've used hundreds of the things without an issue. But fuck me, there's always one. I don't know what pressure the gun had been adjusted to, but it would have probably removed paint from a World War II tank. Position it just right, and it would probably topple the thing right over onto its side. I positioned the gun under my arse and gave the trigger a quick squeeze. I nearly hit the roof. Literally, I might as well have sat on the Barcelona fountain or an Icelandic geyser. The water jet stung like a bamboo spike. God knows how many litres of water this thing could spray in a second, but it could probably fill a beer barrel. I stood there, waiting for the pain to subside, wondering if it ever would, squeezing the trigger at the wall to see just how powerful it was. My hand waved around as if I'd grabbed a pissed-off cobra. The soap dish went flying. Rita's shampoo bottle banged around the shower. I heard her through the door. "What are you doing in there?" I didn't think she needed to know. "Just come in." She was lying on her back, hands behind her head when I entered the room. I was naked. You don't give a shit when you're drunk. There she was, just waiting. It had been a long old day, a hot, tiring trip, but all would end well. And why wouldn't it? Good karma and all that bollocks. On the subject of karma, I felt a rumbling again in my stomach, a rumble that wouldn't subside, and this time it felt uncontrollable. No amount of arse muscle could combat the inevitable. I pointed to Rita. "Just a minute." I turned to re-enter the shower, but it was all too late. It's true, certain Thai dishes can certainly go through you like a shark through a teenager, but this wasn't the problem. The problem here was the water gun. I had somehow managed to fill up my arse with a fair amount of water that now wanted to take the path of least resistance. As I turned to dive into the shower, a jet of water blew from my arse like some DIY enema gone wrong, landing almost 6 feet away at the furthest point. I stood there trying to clench everything together, but hey, when your arsehole is full and wants to let go, what you gonna do? Oh, fucking hell, man. I'm not sure a makeshift enema is the way to go in seducing 23-year-old Canadian chicks. I made it to the shower to sort myself out, but by the time I came out, Rita was dressed and halfway through the door. I found this most ungrateful. After all I'd done for her, and she didn't even help me clean up. And that's all for now, folks. If you've enjoyed these 2 stories from the beginning of my book, you can click in the link below and you can buy it in a Kindle form on Amazon or a paperback version. If you'd like me to carry on doing the audio version of these, leave a comment in the comment section below, and a small contribution to my PayPal account will motivate me to do it, because it all takes time and a lot of effort. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the reading, and goodbye for now.